Alright, it's time to explore some of the features that we have in the image menu and some of the tools. In particular, there are some tools for transforming the existing image. There's also a fill tool, and I want to end this quick demo with the clone fill. Let's start with an image that we have somewhere in a website I really like to recommend and visit every day. It's called the Astronomy Picture of the Day, hosted by NASA, and this one here just a few days ago had some pictures of the recent Mars landing, and then here's a beautiful shot that shows the parachute of Curiosity as it's coming close to touchdown. Just a few minutes, I guess, before landing. Anyway, so what I'll do is I'll use this image here. I'll click on that to see it in full size, and then right click to copy that to the clipboard. Okay, no need to save that to a file. You can if you want, but here, next step is to go to the image menu, and on the clipboard paste the new image. Right, now there's actually a couple of ways also. You could use simply Control V. If you Control V, it will ask you, do you want to insert the current image that you have in a clipboard into this current buffer. This buffer though is too small, it won't host it, so it won't hold the entire image. So it's probably better to replace the existing image and do that. Alright, and one of the first things we'll want to do is store the image from the image menu. So we have a safe copy, and we can use that at any time. You know, if we make any changes here, if we draw a scribble, or if we mess it up one way or another, we can just click here and it will restore it. Now the preview shows that we have this parachute little view on the side here. As we zoom out here to see the whole image, we can see it indeed. Let me zoom in here. Shift Control left button to pan around, Shift Control right button to zoom in. Alright, so what we want to do is get rid of this. We want to clean this image so that we no longer see this box with the parachute, and I'll show you two techniques to do that. One of them is through the brush, and the other one will be through this tool here, the clone fill. Alright, so with the brush, what I'm going to say is I need to basically cover it up with an image from some other place. You know, if I draw an area, if I select an area here, if I were to copy this into the brush and then stamp it down, then that would do just fine. So I can use this tool here, which is a custom brush selector tool. And with this custom brush selector tool, there's a shortcut for that too. It's called B, as in brush. And with that custom brush selector tool, you can go and select a portion. Now it's a little bit difficult to see. Let me jump to another. So, you know, basically you click and drag and let go, and it picks that image. Now in this case, just plain white, and picks that up as the current custom brush. And so if you jump back and you know, I'm showing white as transparent, so obviously I'm not seeing the preview. But let me do that same pickup now on the inside this area here. So I'm going to let's say I'm selecting this little mountain with the dark spot on the side here, dark shadow. I'm gonna go pick that up, and so that's now the custom brush, and I can just stamp it down and that'll be it. But there's an edge showing, as you can see. Just along here we do see the edges. So instead of picking it up as is, what we might want to do is blur the edges. We can do that before we pick it up. Alright, let me do U for undo, and then Control Z will do too. And I'm going to select maybe a rectangular area or an oval area for my selection, and make my selection about this big. And you notice that it turns pink all around it, and that's because under the selection menu I have the overlay alpha enabled. If I disable that, you still see the marching ants, but you don't see the unselected area in pink. So the selection here, if you use overlay alpha, it shows you in pink the portions that are not selected, and clear, you see the portions that are selected. Now if you blur this selection, under the selection menu you can go to blur, like box filter alpha or Gaussian blur. Both of these here allow you to blur the alpha. Typically that's along the selection mask edge that you will see a difference, and so it kind of blurs that selection. And so with that, it goes towards the inside a little bit, but also towards the outside. It levels it out and gradually transitions the amount of selection that you have there. Let's go pick that up. So again, we just go with the custom brush pickup, and this time we don't go too close to the edge because we've blurred it. We need to make sure we grab enough of that, and we go and pick up about this much. And now you can see that it picked up the inside, and it's got a blurry edge on that brush. Let me go and clear, Control D for that, and then you could, it was a little bit too small. Alright, so that will work though. You know, you can put a couple of stamps down and click it down a few times and it will cover it up. But of course, this is not a very smart choice here. I see this mountain replicate a few times. That looks a little bit odd. I would probably be better off picking something from this right side here and then putting that over there. So let's do that one more time. This time I'm going to use the rectangular selection. Let's make it about this big and blur it. Selection from the selection menu, Gaussian blur, something like so. Right, Control B, pick it up, and let me do an undo on that to go back to, or like I said, you could click the stored image. There you go, that's the reference image that we had stored, and then just put that right on it. So now it's getting a little bit better, but there are a couple of other ways to do this, and one of them in particular I wanted to show you is the clone fill. Right? Basically the steps we've just done can be simplified a little bit, and the clone fill works the following way. From the image menu you go to the fill tool and select clone fill. Now before you do that you will need a selection. If you don't have a selection, it will tell you there is no selection to fill. So what it asks you is to indicate, let me go back to the regular brush, what it asks you is to indicate where is the area, that's this one here, where is the area that we would like to fill with something else, like for instance from this side, right? And then it's going to basically bring it over, right? So all you got to do is select this area here first. Very approximate, it doesn't have to be too precise. And so what we'll do is we'll use the lasso tool or the rectangle tool or whatever. Let's use the lasso tool here, this one here. And we can go and select very loosely. Okay, and it still has the selection. This is something I recommend, is to show the overlay alpha so you can very quickly see where your selection is. Alright, now we need to blur it a little bit. In fact, let's bring it in a little bit tighter here because we're close to the edge already as it stands. So let's go here and then blur that, Gaussian blur alpha, something like so. Alright, now we're ready to use the clone fill. Image, fill, clone fill, and it attaches a rubber band line, and you can see that it immediately copies whatever portion I'm pointing at. Let's say I'm going to this little mountain peak here. You can see that it copies, keep an eye on here, it copies that right over there, it blends it right over there. And so that's how easy it is now to just put, for instance, if you want this little mountain shape or this valley that looks like a stomach or an appendix that's ruptured up there, you can put that right there. Click it once and you're done, and then you can clear the selection, and you're not totally gotten rid of it, because I guess the area was a little bit too transparent on the edge, so we still see that box a little bit. Let's go do one undo, so we still have that selection, and we could go perhaps 2 or 3 times over that. Let's go image, fill, clone fill. Yeah, that's one of the things you'll have to do, is to make sure that you don't blur it too much, because otherwise you're going to break out, and there's a big transition, a big range through which the alpha is gradually getting more and more opaque, or hiding it. So if you have a lot of blur, you're going to need to have a bigger area that you select as well around it. Here I was close to the edge, so I didn't want to go too close there. Anyway, so that's that for the quick tool or 2 methods to cover an area of the picture, either by picking it up into the brush and then stamping it down, or by using this fill tool, and the last one that we recently added, I think it was in 7.2, this one, the clone fill. Now there's a couple of other fill tools, and I would encourage you to experiment with these, because there's a lot of interesting capability with that as well, and that will be for you to find out as you explore.